All right, guys, welcome back to the Road to 55, brought to you by Chasing Range, the podcast. We know Luke, Joe, Kyle, and myself, Victor. We're going to recap everything from last week, the divisional round, and then we're going to talk to you about this week, the conference championships. Man, we've had a hell of a playoff, boys. I mean, a lot to talk about. Let's just break it down real quickly. So the Packers beat the Rams 32-18. Bills took down the Ravens 17-3. Chiefs 22-17 over the Browns. And Tom Brady and the Buccaneers took down Drew Brees and the Saints 30-20. Let's start off with the Rams-Packers last Saturday, 32-18. It was a 14-point win. We know that the Rams were playing without Cooper Kupp. Aaron Donald was limited. Luke, how are you feeling about that game? You know, any big surprises about that game for you?
No. I mean, I sort of called it out. I had the Rams possibly upsetting their opponent first round, and they did that against the Packers. It was definitely going to be the front line, a battle between the defensive line of the Rams and the offensive line of the Packers, and the offensive line of the Packers clearly won. You had clean pockets for Rodgers. They utilized the running game. So, no, I mean, the Packers executed the game plan perfectly, and it's my game plan, and they should be very happy that I gave them that.
and Joe, I mean, there's one thing that I noticed, like, I'm looking over these stats again, and the Rams did a great job taking care of the ball. I mean, Goff only had 6 incompletions, no interceptions, no fumbles. Akers had 100 yards, and it was like 98. The Packers should have brought that, like, Bill Belichick mindset to how they ran their defense. A lot of bending, but they held them to 18 points. Was that what won them the game, truly? I mean, I feel like Rodgers can go for 30 every game, but holding the Rams to 18 is pretty good. Do you think that was kind of the X factor to them winning that game?
I just think yeah, you could say that, but I just think that the moment might have been too big for the Rams. You know, I thought there was a possible upset just based on how the defense played the week before. But, I mean, one thing that really was eye-opening to me is I can't remember when exactly, but it was a play to Alan Lazard, that touchdown. It was effortless. I mean, Rodgers dropped back and he like sidearmed it like he was throwing it to the trainer. And Lazard easily caught it and ran for a touchdown. I mean, it was 32-18. That's a decent – I mean, it's a 7-point gap. It's closer if that easy touchdown doesn't happen. But Rodgers does stuff like that. You know, like on a whim, he can throw 2 bomb touchdown passes, you know, for totaling like 150 yards, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Kyle, so, like, looking at the Packers alone, Lazard 4 for 96 and a touchdown, Robert Tonyan 4 for 60, Scantlin 4 for 33, and obviously Devontae had 9 for 66 and a touchdown. Is this receiving core, including, you know, Tonyan and even Aaron Jones catch a little bit out of the backfield, are they kind of underrated, or is Adams getting too much attention, you think?
I don't know if they're underrated. Adams gets a ton of the spotlight, of course, and especially like the season that Rodgers had. I mean, he's going to be the MVP. Like, I don't think anyone is going to. You know, Brady's had a great season, and like we talked about Mahomes, he's had a great season too. But like, I think for the 2020 season, Aaron Rodgers is like almost unanimously your MVP. I mean, his numbers are ridiculous. They're playing in their first, kind of jumping ahead, they're playing in their first home NFC playoff game in Rodgers' career, which is insane. But I don't know if I would call them underrated. I think. You know, Lazard, I think, gets forgotten about, but I think I talked last week about Scantling, my guy Scantling, who's going to get free there. And they had a couple of plays I remember where he like just overshot him. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's my guy. But this game to me felt like the biggest mismatch of the games, where I was excited to see what the Rams defense would do. And like, you know, we talked about last week how about like Darnold's Eric Donald. I always get this confused.
Aaron Donald. Yep.
Aaron Donald and Sam Darnold for some reason.
Yeah.
I always get those
two. Both play for the Rams too.
Yeah, seriously. But we were worried about his health. Goff clearly wasn't healthy. I mean, he, like you mentioned, Vic, he only had 6 incompletions, which is true. But I mean, he had 174 yards and a TD. Like, that's not typical Goff. I know, Vic, you're a big Goff guy. You mentioned, I think the last show that like Goff is kind of underrated. I was excited to see like what his defense would do against Aaron Rodgers. They kind of let me down where like I think the defense was a huge factor in why they upset Seattle. And then this kind of on the opposite end of that, like they they let me down. I thought this was gonna be a close game, and like, yeah, it wasn't. The scoreboard wasn't super far, but I think the
Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers.
100%.
So no,
Yeah, no, that's you're putting way too much. Like Russell Wilson couldn't get a pass off that game. He was swallowed by the Rams defense, and like
I know,
that was
and
the only
Aaron-
chance of winning against the Packers too. And they couldn't
course.
execute on the
and
the
Aaron
front.
Donald was hurt. So like we did give a little credit to that. I mean, for me, the one thing that I love to see, I'm a huge fan of great cornerbacks. I don't care what team you play for. I cannot like Jalen Ramsey. And
Yes.
he had a really bad season. Was it last year or maybe to start this year? I can't remember when it was. And people were ready to write him off because he was a monster his rookie year. And then this like last 6, 7, 8 weeks, really the whole season, he's been locked down. And I love to see, because I'm sorry, Devontae's a bad dude. And so's Jalen. So like 9 for 66 and a touchdown against an elite, probably the top receiver in the league, in my opinion, right now. That's still a good game from a cornerback. Like you kept him in check.
I agree. I wanted to mention that.
Yeah, he didn't expose the Rams by any means. Devontae won the matchup because his team won and he put up some numbers.
He did
But
his
like
thing.
it was great to see some like physicality and like some like tenacity, like those two chirping at each other. We don't see that enough in the NFL anymore. And I don't know what it is, whether guys are too worried about their paycheck and shit like that, but like it was good to see those dudes. It had to get separated a couple times. Now, not like face to face ready to fight, but people were always like, yo, get your ass back here before it got too heated. It was good to see.
Yeah, we're missing kind of that chippiness, like you said, Vic. We're like, I was thinking like Darrelle Revis, but even he was like,
No, like Richard Sherman was kind of a badass like that.
Richard Sherman was the guy. Yeah, I was gonna say Revis, but Revis is more of like, I don't want to say finesse corner, but like, I mean, he was a lockdown corner for sure. I mean, Revis Island is like,
Yeah,
I mean, they literally came up with a phrase, and he was obviously awesome with the Pats too. But like, yeah, it is nice to see like that chippiness. I don't like Jalen Ramsey personally. I don't really know why. I just don't really like. I think he's a little cocky, but yeah, like you said, I mean, Adams is going so well right now that anything, it kind of like reminds me of Stephon Diggs that we talked about, where it's like you're not going to shut him down. If you get 80 to 100 yards, then like that's almost a win, because it's like, what can you do against that guy right now?
exactly. Yeah, so let's move on. I think did we all have the Packers winning that game?
I had the Rams, I think.
Joe had the Rams, so 3-1 had the Packers winning. So let's move on. We had the Bills and the Ravens on Saturday last week as well. Bills won that game 17-3. For me, guys, I mean, listen, Lamar going down is a big factor. I was never really worried about Lamar doing anything big against the Bills. I think the Bills are a pretty good team that's going to keep their engine running the whole time. But I'm going to tell you right now, going into Kansas City next week, and we're going to talk about it more, I'm worried about the Bills. I mean, the Ravens have a pretty good defense. Peters, Humphrey, their front seven's pretty solid. But, I mean, they had 32 rushing yards and 206 passing yards. I mean, that's not going to win a playoff game against Kansas City. And Kansas City's defense is very underrated. Joe, taking this win 17-3, really wasn't 17-3 without Lamar. It doesn't feel like that big of a win against the Ravens. Are you worried about what the Bills produced this week last week going into this week?
Yeah, their run game was it seemed like they stayed away from that. And they had 32 yards, but they only had 16 carries between 3 people, right? So it's like, I don't know why they shied away from that when I thought they were doing so well with it before. I mean, it says their 2 top receivers had a total of 16 catches each. So like it was obvious that they were paying more attention to the passing game. It's
That's
just
fair.
I don't know. It seems like if the running game was working for you all season, don't change it now. The one thing you don't do in the playoffs is just fuck up your chi. Like if it's been working for you all year, continue to use that. And they just flat out went away from it. I don't know if it's lack of production super early and they gave up on it because they were scared. I don't know what it was, but they can't do that against the Chiefs. They need both. They need to run more against the Chiefs to open the pass game up, because the Chiefs will shut them down if it's only one or the other.
Okay. Luke, what do you think, taking what happened this week against the Ravens with Josh Huntley, Taylor Huntley, I can't even remember off the top of Tyler Huntley, sorry. Do you think that the Bills are going to be able to get this done against the Chiefs? Or more, tell me what you saw against the Ravens that has you concerned going into this week.
I mean, running game definitely is a concern, but I mean, their overall offense. I mean, I know the Ravens have a very good defense, but they looked not mediocre, but they looked down to earth and humbled, I think, compared to what they were rolling off beforehand coming into the playoffs. I mean, the Bills' offense can be super explosive. I mean, Cole Beasley's having a year. Stephon Diggs is almost as untouchable as Devontae Adams this year. And Josh Allen is playing phenomenal. So I think it was a very good test for them. And honestly, a very good win for them to go against like a premier defense and come out on top. And also their defense did not play nearly as bad as I thought they were going to. They handled the weapon that is Lamar Jackson very well, and unfortunately knocked him out of the game. But yeah, I did not expect that. I had the Ravens all the way. I think that the Bills are they're dangerous. That offense is dangerous, and if their defense can play as well as they did against the Ravens, like Chiefs are in trouble. Mahomes or no Mahomes, if everything's clicking for the Bills, they've proven they're a top team in this league this year.
Isn't it funny? It's almost like people are sleeping on the Bills still, even though they're in the AFC title game. Where it's like, Vic, you said it a couple episodes ago, where it's like, I think it might have been last episode, where like the Bills are playing for an AFC title game berth, and you're like, isn't that weird to say out loud? And it's like now they're playing for Super Bowl berth, and it's like, I agree with you, Luke, where it's like, it's funny because it's almost like no one wants to believe in the Bills, even though, I mean, they're what, 15-3 this year? Like they just keep going and going. It's like a coming out party for Josh Allen this year. So like I wasn't a big believer in Josh Allen before this year, to be honest with you. And like he's proven me wrong every step of the way. And like he's had, I mean, Diggs has been a home run, a grand slam really, like the whole way through. Like that's been a game changer. The Bills defense has really impressed me. I just want to give a shout out to Tyler Huntley, because like watching that game last week, he looked so much like Lamar Jackson, where like they must run him for like in like practice, like they must have him like pretend to be Lamar, because like I couldn't even tell the difference, honestly. He had some good runs, and like he was to be thrown into a playoff game like that. I think it was fourth quarter when it was either late third or the fourth quarter. Like he was thrown into the game when Lamar got hurt, and like he had some decent drives with them. I mean, and he's a rookie. I mean, he's probably, I don't think, was that his first snap in the NFL? Probably. Like,
I'm going to be a little critical on the Bills here for a minute. They played the Ravens last week. Did they play someone before that? Why am I blanking?
Yeah, they were in wild card weekend. They played
Before the Colts.
Yeah.
The Colts, and they squeezed by them, right?
Yeah, it was a 7-point game.
My only thing is, I'm not a believer like you were talking about, Kyle.
They only won by 3.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% convinced that they're elite. They squeezed by a retiring Phillip Rivers and the Colts, who the Colts had a good season, but they squeezed by them. And then last week, Lamar Jackson goes down. Lamar had, 14 for 24. They were clearly playing better until he went down. Huntley had a bunch of passes, 60 yards. They and their running game wasn't bad either. I think they had like almost 150 yards total, 140 yards. So my thing is, the Bills haven't really won a crazy, like not a crazy game, but like I just haven't
had
seen.
to come up clutch in the fourth and like
And I'm not trying to take away exactly. It's just I don't know what I'm trying to say. They're good, but I'm not convinced that they're an elite team. Like if you told me that the Bills are going to go to the Super Bowl, I'll tell you that I believe that they would essentially crumble in the Super Bowl.
I think their strength of schedule isn't like I think compared to the Pats, like our strength of schedule is much tougher than the Bills if you look at like who their NFC opponents were. But I think you're taking a lot of value from what they've accomplished just in the playoffs in these last 2 games. They faced the Colts, which is a top 10 defense. They faced the Ravens, which is a top 10 defense, and they took home wins in both those games. in crunch time, in win or go home games. So I think you're seeing like a team that's been together all year, that's been, that you have Diggs and Allen who are like best friends now after this trade. You have like a family unit that's going to war every game. I think you're undervaluing
the
that.
underdog family unit. I look at it teams versus like the Packers and like the Chiefs. They're not the Bucks. Maybe they're not. I don't believe that they're at the top tier.
I think you can.
But they're playing well.
Yeah, I mean the top tier, right, is the Chiefs. If they can beat the Chiefs, would you consider them top tier after that?
Yeah, absolutely. You took down the big guys, and it's like now your voice is definitely heard for sure.
And I think I was just gonna say, I think that we haven't seen the Bills' offense click in the playoffs yet. They've played some tough defenses. I think that if you and Vic, you mentioned like Kansas City has a sneaky defense, like a sneaky good defense, but it's not elite. And I think that the Bills have a chance to surprise a lot of people and expose the Chiefs defense with their offense if they bring the right game plan in. I think that'll include running the ball and doing play action to get some freedom for the receivers. But watch out for those.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I want to point out with
Cole Beasley is back, by the way, for Sunday. I don't think Beasley played. He had no catches in the last game, but I just Googled it. He's coming. He's playing on Sunday.
Good. So the one thing that sticks out to me right now is the Bills are missing Zach Moss, and not so much from a production standpoint, but a scheming standpoint. I think Luke and I had him a couple games on our fantasy team. If not, I know I did. He always plays in the red zone. He also missed 3 or 4 games this season and only had like 25 or 30 less carries in Devin Singletary. They're really 1A and 1B. And when you have to go to TJ Yeldon, who was never that good in his prime, let alone as a 30, 31-year-old as your backup, I think they don't know how to click without Zach Moss right now.
I forgot Moss is out. That's a good point.
He plays a very similar style to Singletary. They're both decent pass catchers. I think Moss is a little bit better, but Moss is their goal line guy, and now they're kind of missing that. Plus, John Brown came back out of nowhere. Beasley's a little banged up. I feel like if it's not all going for them, it doesn't click. So I want to ask you guys a question about the Bills. The Bills have had a phenomenal rebuild. Like, we've all been saying, oh, here comes the Bills, or here comes the Dolphins, the Jets, right? It's never happened. The Bills are here, and they're staying for a while. They did it slow. They did it right. I compare them right now, and Kyle's going to hate this one. Luke's going to agree, to the Celtics, man. It's like I almost wish the Celtics went one and done 2 out of the last 4 years instead of 3 out of the 4 years losing in the Eastern Conference Finals, because now our standards are so high. So I'm worried, and Joe, you probably heard it. Felger brought it up, that the Bills are better off losing this Sunday than losing in the finals, in the Super Bowl. It's like, it's so hard to get back to Super Bowl back-to-back, let alone lose in it and then come back. Like, look at Jimmy this year. I know they've been hurt over in San Francisco, but like, I would have never predicted them to make it back to the Super Bowl after losing one like that. So when you overachieve, the word that Luke loves so much, when you overachieve, it's hard to reach that level again. And now when you're setting the bar so high, it's like there's a ceiling on your head and you just can't get past it. So that concerns me with the Bills. But if you guys have anything else, let me know. If not, we can move on to the next game.
Yeah, I have to disagree with that notion, Vic. Like that whole notion of like, I get what you're saying, but like that whole notion of like, oh well, we shouldn't have gotten to the like, it's better to lose in like the East quarters than it is to make the NBA Finals, and then it's like, I can't. You should always try and win as many games as possible, like period. Like, and I think you should always try and get as far as you can. Like, let's say even if the Bills upset the Chiefs and even if they lose the Super Bowl, like I think they're still getting learning experience, and that's kind of like you mentioned the Celtics.
So Kyle, let me ask you this. The Heat made it last year when they absolutely shouldn't have. The Bucks should have beat them. We should have beat them. Whatever. If they end up like the 8 seed this year and get one and done by whoever, is that a disappointment? Absolutely. But is it a disappointment because they had a rough season, or is it a disappointment because they went from the finals to one and done? You know what I mean? So that's my fear with a young team like the Bills that did a true and good rebuild.
Yeah.
So the Miami Heat, like I know it's first of all comparing NFL and NBA is apples to oranges
Of course.
because the NFL, like you strive for these one and done teams in some sense because you make it to the Super Bowl, everyone gets paid, everyone goes their separate way, unless you want to build something. Like the Pats built the dynasty. Dynasties are so rare in the NFL.
Michael Butler.
They don't happen. So I think that's comparing apples to oranges, and I think that in the NBA, like with the Miami Heat, they lost a bunch of people in free agency. They lost Crowder. Who else did they lose?
Yeah, I was gonna say they brought Dragic.
They lost Derek. What was it? They lost
Derek
another
Jones Jr. who
Derek Jones Jr.
played every other game.
A huge piece, but right, he was part of that unit. They didn't. The point is they didn't keep the same people. They've also dealt with some injuries this year. You've had
But
COVID.
I'm just saying in general. I mean, it's a weird situation. So that's just my take, on the Bills. Let's look at what I personally think, and I'm guessing you guys will agree with me. It was the game of the week for me, the Chiefs-Browns, and it's funny, guys. The day before, Sam goes, "Hey, do you mind going to the grocery store? We need diapers." Like, yeah, no problem. Well, there's different types of diapers. You guys will eventually learn this, right? And she says, "Don't get baby dry." All right, I won't get baby dry. What'd I do? I got baby dry, right? So she comes home the next day. I'm watching football all day, and she's like, "Did you go and exchange those baby dries?" I'm like, "No, I didn't." Well, you know what I did? I sat in the fucking Walmart parking lot for 20 minutes until halftime and watched the rest of the Browns and Chiefs because I wasn't missing a second of that game. And honestly, huge shout out. It was at 22-17. Huge shout out to the Browns. Hell of a season. Welcome to the big league, boys. I hope it keeps rolling for them. They got a good core going. There's going to be some big changes in the offseason for them, but I really like what they're doing. Congrats to Chad Henne.
Chad fucking Henne.
Anything is possible, baby.
Big plays after one of the worst interceptions I've seen in playoff history.
He just falls in the playoffs right now, Chad Henne.
Yeah, I mean, huge play from him. Patrick Mahomes is playing this weekend, so that's good. We'll see a full Chiefs team. Guys, what's kind of your takeaway from this game? Joe, tell me how you're feeling. Did you kind of wish at one point the Browns would take that game?
I wanted the Browns to make it a game.
Yeah.
I want the ultimate best product in the Super Bowl. So I don't want a team to have a 2 or 3 game run and then stuck. Not to say the Browns would suck, but I feel
keep it competitive.
They're most likely to do that of the remaining teams, I feel. So I wanted the Chiefs to win. I picked them to win, but I wanted a close game.
It's weird. It was almost like a tale of two stories. The underdog was the Browns going into the game, and then Mahomes gets hurt, and now the Chiefs are the underdog. And it's like, how do you not root for Chad Henne? I'm sorry.
Right.
I was rooting for him. When he had that 1 yard dump off to Tyreek Hill for the first down, I'm like, you big ball motherfucker. And then
How about Andy Reid, dude? The ball's on Andy Reid to call that.
What about the run? The run alone.
Oh my God!
Right before that, yeah.
Unreal.
It was an 18-yard first down run.
It was like 3rd and 17 or something. Yeah.
Oh my God! Good for him, man. Great story all around. Kyle, you had Cleveland going all the way. I know it was a dark horse and not a full 100% committed pick, but you were in on them. What's your feelings after this loss? Are you happy with the season overall?
Yeah, like you said, it's a dark horse. So it was a great run. I mean, you fell off that horse and you get back on it. They just didn't get back on it this time. But it was a great game. It's funny that you said because as soon as Mahomes went out and as soon as we were texting the group chat, I need Mahomes out, and then they confirmed he was out. It was mid third quarter, and then the Browns were down, I think 2 touchdowns, and then they got a touchdown with 8 minutes to go in the third or the fourth. And I think the Browns got the ball back with 10 minutes to go, needing a touchdown to take the lead, and they didn't score the rest of the way. But what a run, like you said. I mean, it's a huge step for the Browns franchise. Kind of reminds me of what you said earlier, where is it better for the Heat to go to the NBA Finals and lose? Well, it's now the Browns can say, okay, well, we made it this far, and we were really this close. And I think it's tough for any Browns fan to see that game and Mahomes gets knocked out for most of the second half, and you had a golden that's the best opportunity you're going to get to take that team down. period. And like to lose the way they did with Andy Reid, I mean, you got to tip your cap to Andy Reid because it's like, what a call that was. Like, I don't think anyone was expecting that. Even like the commentators were saying like, okay, they're going to try and draw them off sides and they'll punt back. There was like 1:10 left or something. And it's like, no, he's like, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to throw on 4th down. They were at like midfield, I think. Like close. Like if they don't get that 4th down, like the Browns are in a good position to win that game. But I mean, it was a hell of a run. They didn't have OBJ since like one of the early weeks that he got hurt in, which I'm not convinced that OBJ makes your team better. Tremendous talent. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really work wherever you go. So it's like at some point you gotta.
It worked for the Giants. Like he was.
Yeah, it did.
He was a stud.
They didn't win much, but he was nasty.
Well, that's what I mean. Is that like? I mean, the Browns started winning after he got hurt. So it's like, at what point do you say tremendous talent? Does it work on a team? Because like, I don't know. It's stats don't win games. It's not.
I agree. The offense for Cleveland started to click with OBJ out, and I think that's clearly apparent that they're forcing the ball to him. And maybe that is sort of him being a little diva-esque, wanting the ball and thinking that he's above every corner that faces him. And maybe he could be, but the ball was being forced to him, and you can't do that in offense. My take from this game, though, is Cleveland lost it for themselves, in my opinion, in the first half by not running the ball. That is their identity. They have one of the most elite backfields in the league with Kareem Hunt and Chubb. They should have run the ball. They ran 6 times, and one was a QB scramble by Baker.
Luke, I have a question for you directly.
Yeah.
So just so I think you guys know, Luke and I have a fantasy team we ran together that was pretty expensive. For the most part, Luke let me manage the defenses, and for the most part, I did pretty well. When I picked up Kansas City like week 12, week 13, as we're like on the playoff fringe, did you question it?
Yeah, I did.
Right? And now watching this, I mean, Cleveland's offense has been fucking phenomenal. Does it surprise you?
Yards and Chubb
did surprise me that what?
Like how good the Chiefs, how good their defense is.
No,
it's good, right?
Cleveland lost the game. They could have ran all over Kansas City. Joe, how many rushing yards did Cleveland have?
112.
112. That's like 100 yards in the second half alone. They could have had 200 plus yards of rushing offense.
The two top backs average exactly 5.3.
But isn't that the Chiefs' defense that gets credit for that?
No. So this is what I'm going to tell you, right? So someone texted me the day of the game. They were in the whole big time gambling. Like, Vic, I need a lock. So I was like, listen, I'm not a guy to give out locks. I can have some bad weeks. But I'm telling you right now, the Chiefs cover the spread, which they didn't, in the under. And they're like, the under? What do you mean? And I said this, and I think the Browns had the same feeling. I said that the Chiefs would get out early, and they would abandon the run, and they would start passing the ball. But what happened was, and this is on Stefanski, is they had that strategy. They knew that they were going to be chasing from behind, and they'd have to throw the ball more. But they realized they were in the fucking game, and they abandoned the rush until the second half. Mahomes went out. You guys were never out of the game, really, and you abandoned the run still. It was stupid. I agree. Luke, I think you said it. They should have ran 100 times and just pounded down their throat until Chubb and Hunt couldn't move anymore. And they almost won them the game. Baker made some good throws, but the running backs almost won them the game.
I said last week, I'm not undervaluing Baker as a member of the Browns offense. Like, Baker is partly why they're here, but their run game is premier. Their offensive line in the run game is premier. And the one thing I said was I don't want the game to be in Baker's hands because I don't think he's there yet. And again, that's me talking about overachieving again, but I don't think he's there yet to lead a team to the Super Bowl. What you could have seen is what the Rams did with Goff, which is basically run Todd Gurley through everyone, and Goff was the game manager with a premier receiving corps when they went to the Super Bowl, in my opinion. And I think that the Browns, they completely had the wrong game plan. Granted, there were a few screenplays that could have worked. I think those in the game plan could have worked, but they had some drops. But they didn't change anything into the second half. And Vic, I think you're right. Maybe they're like, oh yeah, I think we are in this game. There's still two quarters left. Maybe we should start running the ball.
Pound the ball.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So
I think the moment was too big for them. I think it's
I think
Like I
they
said,
overthought it. They overthought it going in, and then at halftime, like, oh yeah, we're the Browns. We should probably run the ball, and they almost snuck it out with the Mahomes injury too. Like it could have been a very different game. Imagine if they ran the ball in the first half, and everything that transpired afterwards still transpired leading up until the Mahomes injury. Like they could have been in the control of that game at that time. Who knows?
I'll be interested to see if they take that. Like the Miami Heat right now, 6-7. Like I was looking it up. Like they've taken a step back right now, which maybe some of us may have said on the NBA preview show. I don't know. Maybe we'll look at the tape. But it'll be interesting to see if Cleveland takes that next step up, or if they kind of that was their ceiling and now they kind of like, oh well, like you said, Luke, they overachieved. Where it's like, I don't know. Cleveland is really interesting to watch next year for me. Like Vic, I know like you've talked about the Bucs next year. Like you're saying next year is like their 14-2 season, which I wouldn't disagree with. So I'm interested to see if Cleveland is closer to that, or if they're like, oh no, that we really shouldn't have been there, and like now, like I don't know, they're in this weird spot for me.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I thought it was the game of the week. You like just quickly, did you guys think that was probably the game of the week out of the 4 games?
100%, 100%.
Great game,
right? So much excitement. So the other game, Tom Brady, Drew Brees. You take their 2 stats combined. I don't think you can. I don't know. I mean, is that MJ LeBron? Is that Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron? Rest in peace. I mean, oh my God. I mean, those two in a game like that, phenomenal to see, but also disappointing at the same time. The Bucs and Tom Brady, 30-20 over the Saints. I mean, the stat that sticks out to me: 1 for 1, 56 yards and a touchdown. Jameis Winston. Good for you, big guy. Man, he looks good. He looks physically really good. But turnovers were the game. I mean, when you give Tom Brady the ball 4 times in a short field, he's gonna hurt you. I mean, he had 18 for 33, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a rushing touchdown. I mean, that's not like a huge Brady game, but he doesn't need a huge Brady game when you give him the ball 4 times. Joe, I know the Bucs played well and they handled business, but do you agree that defense / the Saints' mistakes basically gave the Bucs the game? It was their game to lose when the Saints played that way, right?
I think that the story of the game was how poorly Drew Brees played. I think he played. It says here he has a 31.7 QBR rating in that game. Brady had 75. I mean, it's just and Brady wasn't off the charts.
No, what do you have? 14 incompletions. I mean, it wasn't.
Yeah, so
it wasn't great, Tom Brady.
The defense might have maybe they weren't used to playing Brady or something like that and late in playoff games, so they may have got feared the young guys. I don't know. That sounds a little corny, but I think that they buckled at some point, and you can't make mistakes against that guy.
I mean, honestly, the stats for Brady and Brees, you take away the interceptions, they're very similar. Like Brees, I think had a similar completion percentage.
They were off by 1 pass.
Yeah,
18 and 19 for 33 and 34.
1 touchdown. I mean, the difference was the interceptions. Unfortunately, Brees, considering he most likely will retire, like he lost that game for the Saints. It looked like he was done. It's very unfortunate. Granted, he's playing with an injured Michael Thomas that we found out wanted to play Brees' last year and suffered through the pain. So like kudos for all the for sticking in there. If that's a reliable statistic for sticking in there playing through injuries, considering all the tumultuous news that was out there about him this year being traded, being upset. But yeah, like the tail of the tape was turnovers, and Brady was more careful with the ball. That's really all it boils down to from my perspective, is like Brady was more careful with the ball.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this game, so we now know Michael Thomas was hurt. We knew they were missing Latavius Murray. And then I'm blanking on his name right now. Let me grab it. Deontay Harris. I mean, holy crap. He was controlling that game. And then he got hurt. I know, kid, Worcester Mass Assumption kid, representing. But, like, he was dominating the game. They didn't have an answer for him. This game could have been so different.
Punt return, like, right off the bat, and that was called
one.
He had one called back, and then he ran one for 54 as well.
He's a stud, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's freaky, right? So, I thought it was a pretty good game, but 100%, I mean, turnovers play a huge role. And like I said, Tom Brady is not the most talented quarterback of all time, but he's the greatest quarterback of all time. You give him the ball 30, 40 yards to go, you're goddamn right he's going to score on you every time. You put him in the goal line in the red zone on first down, 9% of the time he's going to get a touchdown. I mean, that's what Tom Brady does. And I kind of shame Sean Payton a little bit in their scheming. I think they should have ran Kamara a little bit more. I think they should have been a little more creative on the offense, especially knowing Michael Thomas was hurt. It's just not a great game from the Saints, but the Bucs showed up, and I'll give the Bucs the same credit that I was concerned about, is that their defense is back, and that's the most important thing. If their defense keeps rolling, they can make some noise. But I don't know about next week. We'll see.
Yeah.
The defense gets stronger this week.
Well, it's like a Jekyll and Hyde, where it's like we talked last week about how like I think, Vic, you said we're like the defense bend but don't break, but they've been breaking a lot, and we were all concerned, I think, about Tampa's defense, and they not only did they not break, but they're
young.
Oh yeah, Devin White was all over the field in that game. It's funny because like Kamara had 85 yards, but like, and usually you're like, oh, that's a good game. I thought he had a really quiet game for considering
very quiet.
He's like a monster, and like I thought he was gonna take that game over. But yeah, like you said, the turnovers. I mean, 3 picks for Brees is just, and I think 2 of those were like really bad throws. Like I think we saw them, and I was like, oh, that's a court. It reminded me of Peyton Manning when he was like, when you just knew he was done. Where it's like you should not be.
I do want to say one thing though, and I'm not to be too critical of Drew Brees because he's great. I love Drew Brees.
Hall of Famer.
But I'm going to tell you right now that with like 3 minutes, 20 seconds left in that game, maybe a little more, Drew Brees was on the sideline, and his face was 100% I give up.
Yep.
I can tell you right now,
yep,
TB12 would not have fucking given up. That's a fucking fact.
Yeah,
no,
nope, I don't want to hear it. It wouldn't have.
No, but he's down 10.
Yeah, it's him.
Down 10 against the winningest quarterback of all time. So he knew. He knew.
Yeah, it's 10 points, though. Like, it's not 15, 20.
He's not giving up on I mean, I agree his face, he looked despondent on the sideline. The combination of, like, his career ending, being down by 10, 3.5 minutes, and the game he had, all combining at once into his consciousness being like, what a fucking letdown. Like, that's what his face.
But you can still, like, to me, the part is, like, you still have 1 minute of football is a fuckload of time.
He could have
3 minutes. Like, to me, it's just like, if it was a minute left, I get it. I understand, but too much time left to tuck your head.
I know what you're saying. Like, he could have gone out there with different spirits. He could have looked different, like, in different spirits. But I mean, he wasn't. And like, you don't know how you're gonna react. I mean, he's had a historic career, and he saw it for his last season. So I think he.
And I had something in my eye when he turned around at the end.
I know.
What happened?
When he turned around at the end to like one last look out to the field.
Yeah. I mean, Joe, you're right. Brady would never look that way, but Brady has never played against the winningest quarterback of all time. So like that's like a nail in the coffin. It's like you're not out there waiting for Jared Goff to do something stupid. You're like, it's fucking Tom Brady. All the dude does is close games.
Like, no, Bruce Arians could do something stupid.
Yeah, that's true.
But also not Brees last year. Like that's the thing that spoke to me. Brees is last year. Like, give him a fucking break.
Great moment after the game with Brady and Brees. I mean, holy shit. Like 1,000 touchdowns.
What a moment that was.
Yeah.
All-time video right there. When he throws the touchdown pass to his kid, it's like and then Tom said, like, oh, could he use you out there or something? It's like, man, Tom Brady, I know people give him shit, and I know all non-Patriots fans, like, fucking hate, like, all the Jets fans, I'm sure, hate Brady. But, like, honestly, probably one of the nicest dudes, considering how competitive he is, like, probably one of the nicest guys on the planet, like, honestly. Like, I bet anyone who has hateful words for Tom Brady, if you met him in person, there's no chance that you would say, right, because he would just be like, hey, man, you're doing a great job, and you'd be like, I don't even know you, Tom Brady.
Yeah, so let's jump right into the next game, Kyle. We got Tom Brady against Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Green Bay is favored by 3.5. The over-under is 51. For me, this is the greatest quarterback of all time versus the most talented quarterback of all time. And I think it's going to be unbelievable. Kyle, give me your take. Who do you have winning this game? and how does that team get it done?
Yeah, this is going to be a crazy game. I think if this game is anything less than fantastic, I think all of America will be disappointed, because I think this is it's like we said, Aaron Rodgers' first NFC Championship game at home, which it kind of sucks for him because there's no fans, or they might have fans, but it's going to be limited.
They have fans in Green Bay, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not the same because you don't have a packed house. So it's it's nice, but it's also crazy to think. I mean, this is Brady's 14th conference title game, which is just absurd. And then Aaron Rodgers has been in the league for 17, 18 years, something like that. Close to 20.
I think 05, yeah.
Never had an NFC title game at home. That's strange, but I guess they've always kind of been the underdog team. I have the Bucs winning this one 34-28. I think this is going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be high scoring. I don't know what Bucs defense we're going to get, though. Are we going to get the Bucs defense from last week, or are we going to get the Bucs defense from shades of the Washington game, and kind of the bending more of the breaking than bending. But I do think that the Bucs are riding a high. I think they kind of got their mojo back with that Saints win, and I think Devin White is a monster. I think he's going to be all over the field. I don't know. I think Joe says the Brady magic, and it's just how do you bet against this dude at this point? I mean, there was a hilarious stat I saw that was NFC title appearances since 1997. It was Tom Brady 1, Dallas Cowboys 0, and it was years in NFC. Tom Brady 1, Dallas Cowboys 27 or whatever it is. It's I don't know. I can't pick against the dude, and maybe that's probably biased. I mean, I got the jersey, we got it here. We went for 20 years. I mean, last year was a shock when they lost to the Titans, because even though they had a bad team last year, the Patriots, I think we're we got 12. It's playoff time. We're gonna figure it out, and he's gonna get it done. And so when they actually lost to the Titans, I think we were all kind of oh, that's it's almost weird. We're used to the Atlantas, we're used to the Seattles, we're used to the Rams where they only scored 13 points. They had the worst offense they've had in years, and they still found a way to get that done. I was just man, I can't with that team. I know AB is out for this week, I think. Is he officially ruled out?
Yes.
Yeah, so that is a big blow for them. But I think Broncos are probably gonna have a big game because he's been kind of quiet. And I just think man, that Saints game was close, but I think Luke, I think you said the stats were very similar if you take out the interceptions, which I will agree with. But just watching that game, I think Vic, you say the eye test, where it's Tom Brady to me was in control of that game, and I felt even though he was under 200 yards, I think he was at 199. I think he had a really good game, and I think his stats really could have been better. I just felt he was much better than Brees in that game, and I think he's going against the league MVP this week, so it's tough. I think Rodgers is going to sling it, but I think the Bucs defense has a better chance to make plays on Rodgers than that Packers defense has a chance to make plays on the greatest of all time. So
Brady had Brady has been inaccurate all year, in my opinion. Every game that I've watched with Brady, he's missed a lot of bad balls. And we saw that again in the playoff game. So I'm still rooting for Brady. I picked Green Bay to win the Super Bowl. I think that, or at least get to the Super Bowl. I think that Brady versus Rodgers is could be the ultimate game, but it's not going to come down to which quarterback plays better. It's going to come down to which team is more ready and more prepared. And you have the Green Bay Packers, which is in the second year under their new head coach, and everything's clicking this year, versus Tom Brady first year with Arians with that team. Are the Bucs going to come to play? That's what I'm interested to see, because I think that the Packers are, but are the Bucs going to be prepared, or are they going to fold under the limelight? I'm very interested to see that.
So Joe, I want to ask you, I know that we're on opposite spectrums of who's winning this week. Since I'm taking the Packers to win, and I know you're taking the Bucs to win, say the Bucs lose. Is this a success for Brady? If they lose, is this a success for Brady? His first year with a new team and all that.
100%.
Okay.
He walks out, or essentially they kick him out, whatever. They come to a mutual understanding of to leave.
Comes back to the Patriots.
And he takes, again, I've said this before, the most losingest franchise in the history of American sports. Even if he takes them to the NFC Championship, I mean, his first year, I mean, give me a break.
And you have the Bucs winning?
I have the Bucs winning. I totally respect the Packers. They're scary. I mean, it's not going to be the Bucs aren't going to come out there and handle the Packers, I don't think. I just think that in crunch time, the experience, I'm a big experience guy. I think that Brady really has a lot of the upper edge with the experience. And a big thing about Brady, Luke, you said he was having an off year, had the best season he's had in like 7 years. But
yeah, I just meant accuracy-wise.
The key to me with Brady in big games is he capitalizes at the moments needed. So, the turnover that happened, 9 minutes left in the third, he scored the touchdown, and instead of getting the field goal or nothing, where the other team might have not, they might have got that opportunity, but they didn't capitalize on it. I just think that it's the Brady factor. He still has his 2 top receivers with Evans and Godwin. I know AB is a hit, but the X factor in this game, in my opinion, is Rob Gronkowski. In big games in the playoffs, he has been huge.
Brady looked for him a few times too. They couldn't connect them. That's what I mean.
I think that if they can get on the same page even a little bit, that the big things could happen with those two. I'm not entirely sure with the score. It's a tough one. I want to say the Bucs will win by. The Bucs. Did we give scores yet or not?
Yeah, go for it. What do you think?
Yeah, go ahead.
Rodgers at home.
The gears are turning right now.
38-31 Bucs.
Yeah, I have 34-30, 34-27, something like that. It's gonna be Green Bay though on my end. I'm rooting for Tom. That's the way I feel. I'm in my feels, Joe. Don't get mad.
I mean, Rodgers is dude. You can't. Despite even if I feel some type of way, I can't deny what he's done.
Yeah.
So
not a bad pick.
A couple factors for me that kind of play into everything. I go back to the original one with Tom Brady, right? First time trying to win a Super Bowl without a bye, without home field advantage, without Bill Belichick, right? Still an accomplishment. If he loses this game, I don't care what the score is, still an accomplishment for him. Congrats. And I'm rooting for him. I look at another thing. Drew Brees compared to Aaron Rodgers. We probably put Brady, Rodgers, Brees, and Peyton Manning for us, right? From our age of what we grew up, the top 4 quarterbacks we got to watch, most likely, right? I think we all agree. Mm-hmm. Besides Mahomes now, who's coming into it, but like in their era. And Aaron Rodgers, in the last 3 seasons, he's played all 48 home regular season games, 11 interceptions, 11. He will never turn the ball over like Drew Brees did. We now know that Michael Thomas was hurt. We all knew something was up. Half the time he wasn't even running routes. Mm-hmm. Devontae Adams is healthy. He's a freak. Alan Lazard is healthy. He's very good. And Marcus Valdez-Scantling, he's very good. And Robert Tonyan Jr., Aaron Jones. Like, this team is finally healthy. Other than missing Bakhtiari, or however you say it, their left tackle who's been there for a long time, other than him, they are healthy across the board. And I think that – and I said this last week, so I'm repeating my take. The Saints were a lot better than the Rams, the Redskins, the Washington football team. Mm-hmm. They're a lot better. They're not going to make those mistakes. Well, the Saints made those mistakes, right? Aaron Rodgers, though, he's next level from Drew Brees right now in their career. So for me, I think it's just going to be a little too much. Missing Antonio Brown makes me a little worried. I think Gronk looked like shit last week. He had both hands on 2 different balls that I thought he should have came up with one of those. So that worries me a little bit. We know he's not as explosive, fast, and strength-wise as he used to be. So if you're getting your hand on the ball, catch it. Their running game didn't look great last week. I know Rojo had a stretch where he looked pretty good.
They had 120 yards rushing.
Who did?
Bucs. They both had 60-plus yards rushing.
Yeah, but it never looked great.
These 2 offenses are the same, and the defenses are close too.
They're 100%.
They're going to do a shootout. It could be a shootout, in my opinion.
No, I think it's going to be a shootout. I just think the Packers are the overall better team right now, and Antoine Winfield is questionable right now. That kind of scares me a little bit for the Bucs. I have the Packers 41-34. It is 100% going to be a shootout. They're both going to score like crazy. It's going to be a phenomenal game.
It'll be like 3-0 final.
Nah, watch out for Zadarius Smith for Green Bay. He's going to try to eat Brady alive. We'll see how much time Brady gets in the pocket.
Shaq Barrett, baby.
It should be a sick game, I think.
Oh, and Vita Vey is back. And
Vita Vey is back.
He's been out since October.
That's one, like his first game back. So we'll see how he looks. He'll probably be on a minutes or snap restriction. So we're 2-2. Kyle and Joe are on the Bucs. Luke and I are on the Packers. Let's move on to the AFC Championship, guys. We get the Buffalo Bills at Kansas City, -3. Patrick Mahomes is cleared to go. Zach Moss is still out. Sammy Watkins is questionable. Le'Veon Bell is questionable. Clyde Edwards is questionable. Gabriel Davis is questionable. I mean, this is a deep injury report for both offenses. Joe, let's go right to you. Is Patty Mahomes taking down Josh Allen and go into his second consecutive Super Bowl?
Yes. I think Mahomes is going to be 80%, maybe less. He didn't have a concussion, did he?
Yes, but he cleared protocol.
Definitely.
So he cleared it, but he also has turf toe he's battling. That can be even worse than a concussion.
Yeah.
He was hobbling around a lot. Just the Chiefs' offense is very explosive. The Bills, like I said, they've been squeezing out wins, and that's all good to work for. But it's really hard to squeeze out a win against the Chiefs. If they're popping and nickel and diamond, Tyreek Hill is a freak. Kelsey is a freak. They play so well. Both of those players, they're so key. I think that the Chiefs take it.
What's the score?
34-20.
Chiefs, yeah.
Chiefs.
That's fair.
Kyle, what you got, big dog?
So I've been down the Bills all year, I feel like, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm always like, well, the Bills are going to go here, but then they're going to hit this block, and they just keep pushing through that block. And I know Lamar was hurt last week, so like that's maybe you put an asterisk next to that, but like I just think the Bills are going to seize the moment. And like last week was the first time that the Chiefs looks like, I know they were missing Mahomes, but that was the first time I thought they could be beatable. I know they had a couple close games during the year, so they won like what? They were 15-1 this year, is that right? Or did they lose 2 games?
I believe they're 14-2. Yeah, they're 14-2.
14-2. Oh, but the last week they didn't play their starters, right? So they lost last week, but they didn't play anyone. So essentially they were 15-1, but like they really could have had a couple of those games go either way. So like I thought the Chiefs were unbeatable, and then like I don't know, last week, like I said, I know Mahomes got hurt, but I think like you said, Joe, the turf toe I think is a big factor because like when he was in the game last week, Mahomes was like limping around and like. I mean, when you got to throw the ball, I know he's got a crazy arm, but like if you can't put like weight on your leg and you're hobbling around, and Mahomes too, he moves around a lot too, not as much as Josh Allen, but like he does like to run a bit. If he can't move because of turf toe and he's limited, then like that's going to be different. I just think the Bills defense, I'm a big believer in that Bills defense, and I just think they're going to make plays when it matters. And man, Josh Allen is here, and I feel like this is his time. I think the poor Bills fans, like they were tormented by Brady for 20 years. And like, no matter how good they were, they had a good year. Drew Bledsoe, let's not forget that. But I just like, I think what's really funny, and because we're doing this game second, I picked the Bucs to win. If the Bills managed to win this game and like take down the Chiefs and upset, it would be an upset 100%. Like I think everyone's favoring the Chiefs.
So who do you have winning?
Well, I think real quick, I think that all the pressure's on the Chiefs too. Which is great for the Bills because I think they do better as an underdog, similar to how, not to cross sports here, but the Celtics I think do a lot better as the underdogs. So all the pressure's on the Chiefs, but Mahomes is back. There's no excuse that they should lose this game. With that being said,
oh my God,
Bills are going to win 24-21 over the Chiefs. It's going to be low scoring. It's going to be a defensive battle. The Bills are going to circle the wagon one more time, and they're going to see Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, and they're going to shit their pants.
Luke, who do you got winning this game, big dog?
I'm going to keep this short and sweet thanks to Kyle's rendition of fucking Ring Around the Rosie.
That's me, baby.
It's going to be Chiefs. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think both defenses are going to get exposed. I'll say 42-35 Chiefs.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm going a little bit opposite with you. I think it's going to be 27-17. I think the Bills offense struggles again. I'm going to tell you why. Daniel Sorensen and Tyrann Mathieu, they are sneaky, very good safeties. They double down very well, and they run sneak quarterback blitzes, and they don't have bad safeties to pick up one-on-one coverage. So I expect Diggs to have a decent game. The other guys will disappear. The front seven's pretty good, so they're not going to rush the ball very well against the Bills. And I know the Chiefs are going to be a little banged up. I don't think Mahomes has a great game, but I think he gets the job done. 27-17 Chiefs. Guys, real quick, we have 4 teams left. Kyle, who's winning the Super Bowl right now? 4 teams left.
This man right here.
Bucks. Joseph.
Bucks.
Luke.
Green Bay.
Victor. Green Bay. It's 2-2. All 4 of us are on the NFC. What a slight to Patrick Mahomes. Sorry, bro, but chasing range ain't happening for you this year, dog.
And Diggs is going to have under 60 yards.
Also,
60?
Really?
Travis
Wow, that's
Kelce,
crazy.
the X factor, as much as he's a douche, he is unstoppable. I have to admit that. He's unbelievable.
Cole Beasley is the X factor this week for me. He is back, dude. He's not on the injury
Jesus.
report. Cole
We'll
Beasley.
see. We'll see. All right, guys, this was Road to 55 Conference Championship Edition. We'll be dropping this some point this weekend. And again, we'll be dropping Chasing Reigns. Make sure you guys look us up on YouTube, Chasing Reigns, the podcast. It is official. You can YouTube / / whatever. Follow us, subscribe, like. We appreciate you guys, and we will catch you next week.
Let's go.
Later.